Welcome to the Lifetime Assembly channel. My name is Isaac, and today I'm going to help you assemble your trifold outdoor storage shed. Before we get started, make sure the model number of your shed is listed in the description below. This video will cover all trifold models. Depending on the model that you purchased, you'll have more parts and hardware, but the assembly will be the same, you'll just repeat more steps. This video will follow the steps outlined in the assembly manual that comes with the shed. So if you've already begun and need help on a specific step, check the description below for a timestamp associated with each step. There are steps in this assembly that require 3 people, so make sure you have at least 2 other adults available to help. Before we get into the assembly process, let's take a look at the tools you'll need to complete the job. You may want to pause the video now so you can gather the supplies shown on the screen.
Also, you may see us use an impact driver. If you decide to use one as well, be careful not to over-torque or over-tighten the hardware.
You'll also need additional tools to prepare a foundation for your shed, so refer to your manual to see what other resources you'll need. All Lifetime sheds are required to be built on a foundation. We recommend you build your foundation out of concrete, but you can also use lumber. This video is meant to be a companion to the assembly manual and not a direct replacement. So for the best results, have the assembly manual on hand as you complete the build. It is also crucial that you refer to the assembly manual to review the safety instructions of this build to prevent serious injury or property damage. All right, let's get started. This section goes over the requirements for the foundation of your shed. This video will focus on the assembly of the shed and not of the foundation. So refer to your manual in section 1 to see how to properly build a foundation for your shed. If you have questions regarding the foundation of your shed, please feel free to reach out to our customer service team at the number below. Take 2 gutter channels. A lot of the parts are similar, but the gutter channels are slimmer and have notches cut out at each end. Take the connector piece and insert it into one end of each gutter channel oriented like this. Add a vertical truss brace to each side of the gutter channel, making sure the end that you connect has this notch. Be careful not to over-tighten this hardware. Next, you'll need the horizontal truss brace, which is a little thicker than the gutter channels and has 2 holes in the center. Line up the 2 holes in the horizontal truss brace with the 2 holes at the bottom of the vertical truss brace and secure the hardware. Line up the holes at the ends of the horizontal truss brace with the holes in the gutter channel and secure the hardware. Next, you'll need a wall support channel on each end of the truss. The wall support channel is the one with all the slits. Connect the end of the wall support channel that has this cutout to this hole on the gutter channel, making sure it's oriented like this. Repeat on the opposite side, oriented like this. Add an L bracket to each end of the wall support braces. It doesn't matter which side it goes on, as long as you connect it through the oblong hole. Only finger tighten this hardware for now. Since we're building the 11 by 11, we'll repeat this section 3 more times for a total of 4 truss assemblies. There are 4 gable pieces, 2 left and 2 right. You'll connect the left with the right in the center and secure the hardware. Line up the holes in the screen with the holes in the vent. Place on the front of the gable and secure with the hardware on the back. Repeat the section for a second gable. There are 3 doors, 2 that have a cutout here and 1 that doesn't. For this step, you'll be using the one that doesn't have the cutout. On the back side of the door, add the metal braces to these locations, making sure to line up the holes in the braces with the divots in the door. Then secure with the hardware. On the left edge of the door, add the spacers to the slots. There are 3 sets of hinges. For this step, you'll need the one that is slimmer than the other 2. Making sure that the hinges are on the back side of the door, line up these square holes with the top notch of the door, then slide it into place. This step may be difficult, so you may need the help of another person and a rubber mallet. Be patient, this might take some time. The doors are a little longer than the hinges. You just want to make sure that these holes are clear. Secure the hinge in place by adding the hardware from the front side of the door to the back with a washer and the nut on the back side. If the spacer is preventing you from inserting the hardware, use a Phillips head screwdriver to move the spacer. On the bottom of the door, place a spacer so you can read the word down, making sure the lip on the side and bottom rests on the side and bottom of the hinge. Place the deadbolt over the spacer oriented like this and secure with the self-tapping screws. Repeat these steps at the top of the door, making sure you can read the word up on the spacer. Take one of the doors that has a cutout in this location. This one will be our right door. Add the braces to these locations, making sure to line up the holes with the divots. Then secure with the hardware. Take one of the single door channels and line up the holes in the channel with this notch closest to the cutout. Then slide the channel onto the edge of the door. Again, the door is wider than the channel, so you just want to make sure that these holes line up with the notch. Place the thumb trigger into the handle, making sure these nubs rest in these notches, oriented like this. Place the handle into the cutout on the front of the door and secure the hardware on the back. Add the bracket to these holes oriented like this and add the bolts. On the back side of the door, add the washers first, add the metal sleeves, add the latch oriented like this, place the L bracket over the bolts oriented like this, then secure with the nuts. Add the thumb lever support in this location, oriented like this, and secure the hardware. Add the spring to the latch and L bracket. Take the other door that has the cutout. This will be our center door. On the opposite edge of the handle cutout, line up these holes in a single door channel with this notch on this edge. Then slide the door channel onto the edge. The door is again wider than the door channel. Make sure the holes are lined up with the notch. Place the strike plate over the holes oriented like this. Then add the door latch oriented like this and secure with the hardware. Be careful not to over-tighten this hardware. On the back of the door, place a spacer at the bottom of the door, making sure you can read the word down. You also want to make sure that this lip rests flush on the bottom of the door channel. Place the deadbolt on top of the spacer, oriented like this, and secure with the self-tapping screws. This is the upper brace. You need to insert a cap into each end. Place the upper brace at the top of the door, making sure the tube is on the same side as the door channel. Then secure with the hardware. Add the other two braces to these locations and secure with the hardware. Secure the tube to the door channel with the self-tapping screws. Place the handle on the front of the door and secure with the hardware on the back. When adding the top screws, make sure you add the bracket oriented like this.
On the roof panel that has a hole in it, there will be excess plastic in the square holes. You need to clear those out. You can use a screwdriver, or I like to use the bit on my drill. On the top side of the window, you want to place your butyl tape over the holes along this lip. Apply pressure to all of the butyl tape to make sure that there are no air bubbles. Remove the plastic film from both sides of the domed window piece. Place the window on top of the butyl tape, making sure the holes align with the border. The easiest way to add the hardware is to push it through the butyl tape with your drill. Then secure on the opposite side with the nuts and the washers. Each bolt will get 2 washers. Now tighten the hardware, being careful not to over tighten. I have found that the best method to tighten this hardware is using a Phillips head screwdriver and a socket. Repeat the previous section for a second dome skylight. Your floor consists of outer panels and inner panels. Arrange them like this. Connect each of the halves together by lifting one panel at an angle, interlocking the tabs, and setting it back down. With the help of another person, connect each panel on the long edge using the same method as before. Now we're going to secure all the panels together. Locate this small divot on the outer panel next to the cutout and secure with a screw. At each intersection in the middle, there will be 4 divots that you need to put a screw in. On the seams around the edge, you'll notice 3 divots. You'll only put a screw in this small divot. The doors must be connected to the slimmer floor panels. It can go on either edge of the floor, but it must be connected to the slimmer floor panels. Our doors are going here. Take a regular wall panel and insert the tabs at the bottom of the panel into these cutouts of the floor. Slide the panel towards the front of the shed to lock it in place. I'm comfortable using my foot, but if you're not, use a block and a rubber mallet. Take another wall panel and insert the tabs at the bottom into the cutouts in the floor, then slide it towards the previous panel to lock it in place. Make sure the walls are level at the top, then secure with 6 screws. The window panel can go anywhere on either side edge. The only place it can't go is in the corners. We're going to put our panel here. Next, place a regular wall panel to this location here to start the corner. Remember, the corner must be made up of 2 regular wall panels. Add another regular wall panel to this location, finishing the corner. Connect the 2 wall panels together by inserting the corner channel into this location here, making sure the hole closest to the edge is at the top. Line up the holes with the divots and secure with the hardware. Next, we're going to add 3 regular wall panels to the back edge. Complete this corner using the same method as the first corner. Finish adding wall panels to this edge, mirroring the opposite. With the help of another person, lift each of the truss assemblies into the shed. Each truss will rest in the notch at the top of each wall panel. When adding the first truss assembly, it's helpful to have these nuts face the back wall to make future steps easier. Next, secure the wall support channels by lining up the holes with the divots and secure the hardware. Repeat this process for the remaining trusses. Since we're building the 11 by 11, we have 3 more trusses. When adding the truss that goes over the window panel, you won't add any hardware to the one in the middle of the window. That will get its own hardware later. When adding the final truss assembly, it's helpful to have the nuts face the opening to make the future steps easier. Take 2 wall channels and on the end with a slit, insert a short extension to line up these holes and these holes and secure the hardware. Using the other 2 wall channels, repeat this process using the long extensions. With the wall channels oriented like this, add an L bracket to the bottom, making sure it's on the right side, going through the oblong hole. Only finger tighten this hardware for now. Next, we're going to add the wall channels to the back wall. The ones with the short extensions will go on the outer walls, and the ones with the long ones will go on the inner walls, making sure they line up with this notch at the top of the walls. Take the left door, which is the one without a handle, and insert the spacers into these gaps on the edge without the hinge. Take one of the larger hinges and add it to this edge, making sure the hinge is facing the front of the door. Again, the door is wider than the channel, so make sure that these two holes line up with the notch. Secure the hinge to the door by adding the hardware through the square holes from the front, and then adding the nut and washer on the back. Take a door jamb and slide it into the hinge, making sure these holes line up with these divots. Take the angled bracket and place it on the hinge at the top of the door, making sure the round holes line up with the holes in the hinge. Then secure the hardware. Only finger tighten this hardware for now. Then secure the bottom hinge through the oblong hole. Then go back and tighten the hardware on the angle bracket. Take the center door, which is the one with the tube, and add spacers to the gaps. Slide the edge onto the hinge of the left door. It's easiest to do this if you rotate the hinge up. Secure the door to the hinge by inserting the bolt through the front and putting the washer and the nut on the back. Take the right door and insert the spacers into the slots. Take the final hinge and slide it onto the edge of the right door, making sure the hinges are facing the front of the door. Again, the door is wider than the hinge. You just want to make sure that these holes line up with the notch. Now secure the hinge to the door using the hardware. Slide the door jamb into the hinge oriented like this. At the top of the door, place the angled bracket over the hinge, making sure to add the hardware through the round holes. Then secure the bottom through the oblong hole. This is the glider channel. This is the short glider track. Place the guide track into the channel, making sure to line up these two holes with these holes in the channel. When adding the hardware, you want the head of the bolt on the inside of the glide channel. Be careful not to over-tighten this hardware. Add the long glider track to the channel, making sure to line up these holes with these holes. With the glider track assembly oriented like this, place it on top of the angled brackets, line up the holes, and secure the hardware. Place the glider wheels on top of the carriage bracket oriented like this, and secure the hardware. Be careful not to over tighten this hardware. You want the wheels to spin freely. Slide the glide assembly onto the track, line up this hole in the carriage bracket with this hole in the tube, and secure the hardware. Before adding the bolt into the carriage bracket, make sure to add one nut first. Add the floor bracket, oriented like this, to the bottom of the door jambs. Have 2 people lift the doors into the opening and have someone on the inside with the tools and hardware to connect to the walls. When securing the jamb on the left door, you want to make sure you're going through the holes that are closest to the door. Only add hardware to the holes that have a divot behind them. When connecting the jamb on the right door, make sure you're going through the holes that are furthest from the door. Now secure the floor brackets to the floor. Locate the cutouts that are in line with the deadbolts and add the strike plates oriented like this. Attach the gray strike plate to these divots closest to this strike plate. On the front of the shed, place the metal corner brackets over these holes, oriented like this, and secure the hardware. Be careful not to over-tighten this hardware. In order for the next steps to work, you want to make sure that each bracket looks like this. If the bracket doesn't look like this, loosen the hardware, get a flat-headed screwdriver with some tape, bend the bracket away from the hinge to create some clearance. Slide the corner trim over the brackets. Make sure the tabs of the brackets fit into the lips on the corner trim. In this location on the corner trim, add the long screw. Repeat this section for the other front corner. On the rear corners, add the plastic corner brackets to these locations with the holes, making sure the nub rests in the holes and the bracket is oriented like this. Secure the brackets to the wall by inserting a screw into these notches on each side.
Then slide the corner trim onto the brackets. Now secure the back trim using the long screw in this location here. Repeat these steps for the other back corner. Lift a gable onto the back wall, then secure through the walls and extensions. Place the other gable onto the header and secure with the 4 screws. On the truss assembly closest to the front gable, remove this hardware from the horizontal truss brace. Add this bracket to the bolts from the hardware you've just removed, oriented like this. Then reinstall the hardware. Secure the other end of the bracket to the gable and header. Repeat these steps for the rear truss assembly and gable, except this time there's no header bar to connect to.
Take a narrow roof panel and lay it on top of the gable and truss. Make sure you have the correct panel. You want the lip to rest over the gable and wall. You'll know the roof panel is in the correct position when the divots line up with the holes. Secure the roof to the gable through the 5 holes. Now secure the roof to the truss through the 4 holes. Now finish securing through the 2 holes on the wall panel. Repeat the previous steps on the opposite side of the shed. Lift a regular roof panel onto the next truss and the previous truss, then secure the hardware. Next, add the roof supports to these 3 locations, making sure they're oriented like this. The easiest way to do this is to insert the square end at an angle, then swing the round end into the opposite side. Secure the support by adding the bracket to these divots. Repeat these steps on the opposite side. Next, we're going to add the roof panel with the bubble skylight. This panel can go anywhere on the center roof panels. We're going to add ours here. The only difference between this panel and a regular panel is there isn't any distinct divots for the bracket for the roof support. Just make sure it goes like this.
Repeat this process, adding the rest of the roof panels to the shed. There are two different roof caps, a short one and a long one. The short one will go over the gables on each side, and the longer ones go on top of the trusses throughout the shed. When adding the roof cap, you'll use two different types of hardware. When securing to the truss, you'll use the same screw you have been. When securing through these holes, you'll use the small screw with a washer. Place the small cap over the gables, securing through these two holes. Then secure to the truss. Next, add a long roof cap, securing to the trusses and roof. Repeat these steps, adding the remaining roof caps. On the outside of the shed, place the end cap onto the roof cap, oriented like this, and secure with the hardware. Repeat this step on the back side of the shed. On the outside of the shed, there's two gaps by the truss that you need to fill with the foam blocks. Then secure the roof to the truss through these two holes. Repeat this process for each truss on both sides of the shed. Take the hinge tubes and insert them into these holes in the window. Remove the plastic film from both sides of 2 window panels. Next, place the window frame onto the hinge tubes, making sure they rest in these slots. Line the holes in the pane with the holes in the frame, making sure not to add hardware in the bottom 3 holes and the larger hole at the top. Attach the window stay brackets to the holes at the bottom of the window. Now add these window stays to these 2 holes at the bottom of the frame, making sure it's oriented like this. On the window hinges, add screws to these locations. Insert the hinge into this window stay, oriented like this. Line up this hole in the window stay with this divot in the hinge and secure the hardware. Be careful not to over tighten this hardware. Connect the 2 halves of the window latch like this. Then connect to the larger holes on the window, making sure this notch lines up with that tab. Repeat this step for the 3 remaining latches. Add the remaining hardware to these 2 holes with the bolts from the outside going in. Repeat this process for the other set of windows. Remove the plastic film from both sides of the window. Climb the holes in the window with the divots in the door and secure the hardware. Repeat this process for the other two doors. The shelf can go anywhere throughout the shed on two neighboring wall channels. The height of the shelf is dependent on these slits on the channels. Once you've decided what height you want your shelf at, add the brackets to the slits at the height you chose. Place the shelf on the brackets. Line up the edge of the shelf with the edge of the bracket and secure the hardware. Repeat this process for the other shelf. The shed comes with a couple pegboard strips. They can go anywhere throughout the shed as long as the holes line up with the wall panels and not the channels. The steps are the same for the other peg strip. There are various hooks included with the peg strips. They can go anywhere oriented like this. Next, you need to make sure that the doors are level. In our case here, we don't have enough clearance on the gable and it's causing the top of the doors to rub and make it difficult to open. To help resolve this issue, we're going to place blocks or shims on the front two corners of the shed to help create clearance of the gable and doors to stop the rubbing. Use a crowbar to lift the corner of the shed and place a block directly in the corner. Now that we've added blocks to the corners, the floor is drooped a little bit. So we're going to add shims under it so the deadbolts can catch properly. If you notice on the man door, there's a small gap at the top and a large gap at the bottom. There is a way to fix this. Since the gap was larger on the bottom of the door, we're going to loosen this hardware on the door jamb and pull it closer to the other door. If the gap at the top of this door is uneven, like you see here, we have a larger gap on the right than we do the left, we will raise one of the corners to fix that. Since we need more clearance on the left side of the door, we're going to raise the right side. If we need less clearance, we would raise the left side. Resolving the gap at the top of the man door may cause some issues for this door. To fix that, we'll adjust this hardware here. If you're unable to close the doors due to it rubbing on the floor, then you want to tighten this hardware, raising it. If it's rubbing on top of the gable, you want to loosen this hardware, dropping it. If you're still having a hard time getting the doors to work properly and be level, please feel free to reach out to our customer service team at the number below. This section goes over how to properly anchor your shed to its foundation. Since we're inside, we're not going to be able to do that, but it's important that you do, so refer to your manual in section 19 to see how to properly anchor your shed to its foundation. Thank you for watching this video on how to assemble your lifetime tri-fold outdoor storage shed. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up. For more content like this, subscribe to our channel. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to our customer service team and check out our other amazing products at lifetime.com.